You're standing completely still. You haven't made a sound. You haven't moved. You haven't done anything that you would consciously describe as threatening. But somewhere in your chest, your heart rate has climbed. Your breathing has become slightly shallower. A thin film of perspiration has appeared on your skin. The muscles in your shoulders have tightened almost imperceptibly. You are nervous, and you haven't told anyone, but the monkey sitting 12 feet away from you already knows. Not because it can read your mind, not because of some mystical animal intuition, but because of something far more precise. A biological detection system refined over tens of millions of years of primate social evolution, capable of reading signals from your body that you don't even know you are broadcasting. And once it knows you are nervous, the question is not whether it will respond. The question is how. Welcome to Primal Mind. We have explored how monkeys remember your face, detect your deception, decide to trust you, and assign you a position in their social world. Today, we go somewhere more personal than any of that. Because this is not about what you do around monkeys. This is about what you feel. And what that feeling, completely beyond your control, communicates to every primate within range. The human body under stress is not a closed system. It leaks information constantly. Through channels that evolved long before language, long before conscious social performance, long before any of the tools humans use to manage how they are perceived. And monkeys, highly socially intelligent animals built to read exactly this kind of biological signal, are exquisitely equipped to receive that information. What they do with it reveals something about primate psychology that most people are not prepared for. And something about human psychology that is even harder to sit with. Let's start with the science of what nervousness actually does to the human body, because understanding the signal is the only way to understand how it gets read. When the human nervous system enters a state of anxiety or stress, the sympathetic nervous system activates, heart rate increases, blood flow is redirected toward large muscle groups. Respiration becomes faster and shallower. Sweat glands activate, a response that in evolutionary terms served multiple functions, including altering the chemical composition of the skin's surface secretions. Pupils dilate, micromovements increase. The subtle, involuntary postural adjustments that the body makes at elevated arousal levels. Vocal quality changes even before a word is spoken. Pitch rises slightly, rhythm becomes less fluid, breath control deteriorates. Body odor changes in measurable ways as stress hormones influence the composition of perspiration. None of this is conscious. None of it is controllable through willpower or social performance. It is the body's ancient alarm system, designed to prepare for threat, not to conceal internal state from observers. For a primate species whose survival has depended for millions of years on accurately reading the internal states of others, this is not noise. This is signal, clear, reliable, and extraordinarily informative. Monkeys are not reading nervousness the way humans consciously do, by noticing someone fidget or hearing their voice waver or watching their hands shake. Their detection system operates at a different level, faster, more automatic, and more comprehensive. Gaze behavior is primary. A nervous individual scans differently than a calm one. The eyes move more frequently, fixate for shorter periods, and sweep the environment in patterns that are recognizable to any socially intelligent primate as signs of elevated vigilance. Monkeys track gaze constantly. It is one of the most information-rich social signals in the primate communication system. And the gaze pattern of a nervous human is immediately distinguishable from the gaze pattern of a calm one. Postural microchanges register next. The subtle tension in a nervous person's body, the slightly raised shoulders, the marginally shortened stride, the reduced fluidity of movement, are all readable against the baseline of relaxed human movement. Monkeys that have spent time around humans develop a calibrated sense of what normal human movement looks like. Deviations from that baseline are detected and noted. Olfactory information plays a role that is only now being fully appreciated by science. Research has demonstrated that chemical signals associated with human stress states, detectable in perspiration, produce measurable behavioral responses in other mammals. Monkeys have olfactory systems significantly more sensitive than humans. The idea that they cannot detect stress-related chemical changes in a nearby human is not supported by what we know about primate sensory biology. The picture that emerges is of a detection system that is multi-channel, rapid, and largely immune to conscious manipulation. You cannot decide not to send these signals. You can only change the internal state that generates them. Here is where the science becomes genuinely fascinating, because the response to detected nervousness in a human is not uniform. It depends on context, on the individual animal's history and personality, on the social dynamics of the group, and on one critical variable above all others: how the monkey interprets the source of the nervousness. A nervous human who has a history of neutral, trustworthy interactions with the group reads differently than a nervous human who is unfamiliar. A nervous human who is moving away reads differently than a nervous human who is moving closer. A nervous human in a non-threatening posture reads differently than a nervous human making direct eye contact. When detected, nervousness is interpreted as non-threatening. When the primate's assessment is that this individual is anxious but not dangerous, uncertain but not a source of risk, the response is often increased monitoring. The animal watches more carefully, updates its behavioral model, maintains a slightly larger safety buffer than usual. It is managing uncertainty, gathering more data before making decisions about how to engage. When detected, nervousness is interpreted as a signal of intent. When the animal reads anxiety as the precursor to an action, the response changes significantly. Heightened alertness spreads through the group via the social referencing behavior we have discussed in previous videos. Other individuals begin monitoring both the nervous human and the first animal's response to it. The social nervous system of the entire group activates. And when detected nervousness is combined with approach, when a nervous individual moves toward rather than away, the threat calculation shifts entirely. Because in primate behavioral logic, an anxious animal moving toward you is an animal that may be about to do something unpredictable. And unpredictable in the primate world is the most dangerous category of all. One of the most remarkable findings in primate emotional research is that anxiety is socially contagious, not metaphorically, literally, in a measurable physiological sense. Research across multiple primate species has demonstrated that stress responses, elevated cortisol levels, increased heart rate, behavioral indicators of anxiety, can be transmitted through a group via social observation alone. An animal that observes another animal displaying stress signals will itself begin to show physiological stress markers, even in the complete absence of any direct threat. This social transmission of emotional states is not a bug in the primate system. It is a feature. In a social species living with real environmental threats, the ability to rapidly synchronize emotional states across a group, to share alarm, to collectively elevate vigilance, is a survival advantage of enormous value. What this means for a nervous human in a monkey group is significant. Your anxiety does not stay with you. It propagates. The animals nearest to you begin to pick up the signal. Their behavioral state shifts. Others in the group notice the shift and begin monitoring. Within minutes, a single nervous human can elevate the baseline stress level of an entire primate group, not through any action, but simply through the biological broadcast of their internal state. Experienced field researchers describe this effect consistently. Walking into a group while personally stressed, even from something entirely unrelated to the animals, produces a measurably different group response than walking in calm. The animals know, not because they are remarkable, because they are paying attention in ways that most humans simply are not. Here is the dynamic that most people never anticipate, and that makes nervous encounters with monkey groups genuinely complex to navigate. When a nervous human detects that the monkey group is responding to their nervousness, becoming more watchful, more alert, repositioning, the human's anxiety typically increases, which produces stronger biological signals, which produces a stronger group response, which increases the human's anxiety further. This is a feedback loop, and once it begins, it is very difficult to interrupt through willpower alone, because the signals driving it are not conscious, and the response they are generating is not conscious either. The only effective interruption is a genuine shift in internal state, not a performance of calm, not controlled breathing that is itself a sign of effortful regulation, but an actual reduction in the physiological markers of stress, which requires either time or a genuine cognitive reframe of the situation. Experienced primate researchers and wildlife professionals who work regularly around monkey groups develop this capacity over time, not as a technique, but as a trained state, the ability to enter a primate environment in genuine calm, because they have done it enough times that the environment no longer generates the anxiety that drives the feedback loop. It cannot be faked. The animals will know. Step back from the primate research and look at what it reveals about something much closer to home. You are also running this detection system, right now, in every social interaction you have, reading the biological signals of the people around you, their gaze patterns, their postural microchanges, the subtle vocal qualities that signal stress or ease, and updating your social model of them accordingly, usually without any conscious awareness that you are doing it. The feeling that something is off about a person before they have said or done anything overtly concerning. The instinctive ease you feel around someone who is genuinely calm. The way a room's atmosphere changes when someone anxious walks into it. These are not mysterious. They are the human version of exactly the same detection system the monkey is running. What the primate research makes undeniable is that this system is ancient. It predates language. It predates conscious social cognition. It is woven into the biological fabric of every primate that has ever lived in a social group. Because accurately reading the internal states of others is one of the most fundamental survival advantages a social animal can possess. We inherited it. We use it every day. We just rarely think about it clearly enough to see it for what it is. The next time you find yourself in the presence of a monkey, or any primate, understand that the interaction happening between you is not limited to what is visible. It is not limited to your actions, or your words, or your conscious intentions. Your body is speaking a language that evolution has been refining for longer than our species has existed, and the animal in front of you has been fluent in that language since birth. It knows when you are calm. It knows when you are not. It knows the difference between nervousness that is harmless and nervousness that signals something more. And it is making decisions, continuous, real-time, remarkably sophisticated decisions, based on that information. You cannot opt out of this conversation. You are already in it. The only question is what your body is saying. Stay curious. Stay primal.